Que pasa, amigos? This is Shawn Brown, the Rappin Duke, giving a shout out to AllHipHopTV, where you're gonna get what you need when you want it, how you want it, and it's gonna be on time, Pilgrim. Out.
So first of all, I just want to say thank you, Mr. Shawn Brown, for allowing us to do this interview. And I'll be honest in saying you've been on my mind for a long time, bro. Like I have literally periodically Googled you just randomly, man.
Oh,
It's like for me, it's weird. It's a weird, I don't want to call it an obsession, but I don't think well, maybe you do, but the song you did, the Rappin Duke, it was one of those songs that I'll put it like that.
okay.
And then when I saw what I saw, which really wasn't related to the Rappin Duke, I was a little bit even more intrigued after that. I was like, okay, this guy's doing good things in the world after this record, has been made. And, that was a long time ago.
39 years, 6
30,
months.
right? 39 years and 6 months. Exactly. And you know, rap has come a long way since then, but I definitely wanted to have you on our platform. And I did notice you don't do a lot of interviews. I've noticed that. I think there's like one little quick 4-minute interview really recently, but I didn't.
Okay, you know what? That actually might have been a friend of mine's son who does
Okay.
the social media stuff. Was it like outside in front of a bar or something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. That was the one and only.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
uh,
Wow.
I've accepted the one hit wonder status, and
Mhm.
I wasn't looking. And anybody that did look for me, I had to vet them. And it's like, why am I gonna go back down that road again? And then
Mhm.
when you came, I'm like, oh wow, I got to do this one.
Right. Wow.
I
Thank you.
I gotta do it. I gotta do it. I mean, it's just a chance to share my story, to share my journey. It could help somebody else, It
Yeah.
could encourage somebody, or if necessary, discourage somebody. You
Yeah. Well,
know what I mean, Pilgrim.
well, okay, so let's start. I want to start right here. I get the impression it's not a fuzzy happy story all the way. That there is some pain, maybe some frustration.
Mm,
It's not all the way exciting. Oh God, my phone. Jeez. I did a rookie mistake and didn't put my phone.
that's all right. That's
Oh
what it is
God,
for.
total rookie mistake right there. All right, apologies. Um, so in your words, tell me both sides of the he must be on my like favorites or something because sometimes people can keep.
Oh yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
All right. And I hate when people call me twice. That's the worst thing you could do. All right. Okay. All right. Let's go. So we're so this is gonna be a real interview. It's not one in, just a quick little hit or anything. It's really like where you came from, what you've done and where you are right now. But I do want to start sort of with that idea that it wasn't all perfect. It wasn't all the hit wasn't necessarily all great, even though having a hit does immortalize you in a lot of ways. Can you talk about the song and maybe the good and the bad side of the Rappin Duke?
We can go the good, the bad, and the ugly. We can go
Okay.
Clint Eastwood on you on this one.
Okay.
Uh, it'll let's start off with the good.
Okay.
Good was a surprise.
Uh-huh.
Good was a surprise. I was living in Sacramento, California, Um, it was probably 2.5 years after getting out of the Air Force. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I knew there was something that I was supposed to do, and it
Okay.
wasn't supposed to do another 4 years in the Air Force.
Okay.
And I've always had entertainment in my blood. Musician, actor. I was told I was a comedian, and
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
the power of words is so important. So many times people have told me that I was a comedian and I should do comedy, that one day it sunk in.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I should do comedy.
Right.
And so I left Sacramento and moved to Los Angeles. I had my little vision statement. I had written down on a piece of paper. I said, God, in 3 months, and I said, no, I put it exact. I said, in 2 weeks, I want to find a job.
Okay.
Okay. In my career field, which was communications,
Mm-hmm.
cable splice and telephone work. And I
Mm-hmm.
said, 30 days, I want my own apartment.
Mm-hmm.
And in 6 months, I want to make a significant impact on the industry. One sheet of paper, one sheet of paper, the
Uh-huh.
power of writing, the power of words. In two
Uh-huh.
weeks to the date, I had the job.
Wow.
In 30 days, I was moving to my own apartment in North Hollywood. In
Okay.
6 months, I had gotten into this competition. It was called the Mr. Black Los Angeles competition. And
Okay.
so talented guys from all over LA, either you sing or you dance or you play an instrument or whatever, whatever, whatever. And at the time, I had started my comedy, uh, 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 just going to clubs, open mic, open mic, open mic. I get on there and I do my thing, and I would do this little John Wayne joke. And actually, part of the joke was the song in the song where I go, 200 punks. Well, what you gonna do? I got 2 6 shooters that'll see me through. That's 12 dead and 188 pallbearers. Yeah, huh? And I
Yeah.
would do that, and the audience would just lose their minds. I'm like, what in the world?
Yeah.
And I saw that there was something there, and so I just kept on hitting the clubs and hitting the clubs, and then rap had started hitting pretty hard for me, and started getting on the radar like 84, the breaks
Yeah.
and everything was out, and so I said, well, I wonder what it'd be like to do a John Wayne rap. And so I started going out to the beach, looking out at the ocean, and start writing, start putting together. So you think you're bad with your rap? Oh, well, I'll tell you, Pilgrim, I started the crap, and I did that line. I'm like, okay, okay, okay. I was like Denzel, all right, okay, okay.
Right.
And so it was feeling good, right? And so I had put together like maybe, you know, 8 or 9 lines, 10 lines, something like that. And I tried it out at the club. Sunset and Vine was called Simply Blues. I went in there and did my comedy set, and then I ended at the time I called it the Duke rap. And so I
Mm-hmm.
and people were losing their minds as I was doing it. And as a comedian and an actor, I'm like, well, you laughing too hard and you missing my next line, right?
Right. Right.
So
Right.
I'm like, I got y'all got to hear all of this. And so I went back to the drawing pad and I started writing. So you think you're bad with your rap? Well, I'll tell you, Pilgrim, I started the crap. When you were in diapers and wet in the sheets, I was at the Ponderosa rapping the beat. And then I'm like, okay, I want them to hear all of that. So what can I put in there? Da da.
Right. Right.
Once I put that in, they still laughed. And I mean, that was, I'm like, you know what? I got to do the song. I got
Yeah.
to do the song. And so I went on and, finished putting it all together. And things went bad before they went good,
Mm.
real bad. That communications job that I prayed for,
Yeah.
I got fired.
Wow.
Okay. I was being discriminated against in the worst kind of way. I knew my stuff, and there were some guys that was making like 2,000 a week, and he had me working at $14 an hour, and they were coming to me asking me how to do stuff. So my head was messed up. I was having headaches. And one day we taking a break, and we're outside the central office, and he says, Shawn Brown, I'm going to have to let you go.
Mm.
I just brought my van, brand new van,
Mm.
and I was getting ready to get outfit with trucking tools, would have took my pay way up. Okay. And he fired me.
Mm.
Chuck, there was a relief that came
Mm.
over that I
Mm.
cannot explain.
Right. Right.
not knowing how I was gonna pay for the van, not knowing
Mhm.
I was gonna pay my rent, all of that stuff. I
Mhm.
went every club that was open. I had full-time access to the clubs. Every night I was hitting it, I was lighting it up, lighting it up, lighting it up, lighting it up. And then
Mm.
it got
Mm.
to where I didn't have money to pay my rent at the end of the month. And I did want to keep the van, so I made that payment. And
Right.
so I went back to Sacramento, stayed
Okay.
with my brother for it was like 2 weeks. My
Mhm.
last show in Hollywood, at the club, all comedians have their own club, and that was my club. I didn't make no money, but it was my club. If you want to come see Shawn Brown, come to Simply Blues on Sunset and Vine on Sunday afternoons. Okay. So that was my last show. It was my goodbye show because I was going back to figure out what I'm gonna be when I grow up, right? And
Yeah.
so because everything had fell apart as far as I was concerned, the Mr. Black LA competition, that was great. I think I told you about that. I won second, something like second place and most talented and all these trophies and all that stuff, but there was no money involved.
Yeah.
And
Now,
I
by
did
the way, what year is this, roughly?
this is 1984.
Okay. Okay.
Yep, it was the summer of '84 for the Mr. Black LA competition, and then it went into the fall of '84 for my last show at Simply Blues. And so
Okay.
when I did my last show, I got to stand and and everything, and I was feeling pretty good. But
Yeah.
I had to leave. I
Yeah.
had to leave. I had no money, and so
Right.
I get home to my brother's house, and about 2 weeks later, I get a phone call from a guy named HB Barnum.
Mhm.
He says, you gave your Duke rap tape to a friend of mine that knows me, and he got this to me. And he says, I think we got something here.
Right.
We got something here. I need you to come back to LA and let's get a 12-inch out. I
Right.
got all excited about it, everything. And so I'm like, yeah, hey man, we gotta have an attorney. I ain't no fool.
Right.
We need an attorney. And he says, well, I don't want to tie it up in a whole bunch of legal stuff. He said, I want to get this out. He said, I have an attorney I use by the name of Tony Talbert. I'm like,
Mhm.
Tony Talbert? That was my cousin.
Mm.
That
Wow.
was my cousin. I
Wow.
called him up when I first moved to LA. I said, hey, man, if I ever pick up some business, blah, 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 I'm going to hit you up. And he named off my cousin. I'm like, okay, meant to be. So we go in the studio. And by the time we left the studio, I hated the song because he was a perfectionist. He had me do it over and
Right.
over and over. And then he
Right.
changed the part of the song. The one part where it says, uh, Aretha Franklin, let me
Right.
rock Aretha Franklin. Well, I had Shaka Khan in there.
Right. Right.
Okay, I didn't. That was part of my Duke rap. It was Shaka Khan, and I'm like, I don't want to rock Aretha Franklin. I want to rock Shaka Khan, man. But he's the producer, right? But that was his genius.
Right.
He knew that Aretha Franklin would bring in a whole nother group of people,
Right. Yeah.
another audience. It would transcend the genre. It
Yeah.
would go country and western. It would go R&B. It would go soul. It would go. And I didn't get it at the time, but I did it, and I did it. And I remember going on the road, bro. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, uh, at the time, I mean, I was out there with UTFO and
Mhm.
Roxanne, Curtis Blow, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, the Boogie Boys, Lisa Cult Jam. Probably
Wow.
forget some Toddy T Baton Ram Crew,
Wow.
World Class Wrecking Crew, and all these different groups. And the older cats came to the concert to see me,
Mm.
the 35 and the 45s, because they got into it. I mean, because it was a song about nothing, but it was just something to enjoy.
Right. It was
And
also John Wayne, which had passed away by that time.
oh
You know,
yeah, oh
he had,
yeah, yeah, yeah. And what it got me on it was the fact that when we were growing up, my brother Greg, he was the one who started out impersonating John Wayne. And you know how it is, big brother, little brother, you want to be like big brother. I'm like, I can do it too. And
right.
so, and I started doing it, and people kept telling me it sounded like him. People can't express how important words are, man.
Right.
And see somebody got a gift, if they in your entourage, or if they're somebody you pass up, and you tell them that they're good or you tell them that they're great, you might be the only person that ever told them.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
You can't pass it up. Now you got folks who are full of themselves and you know who need it.
Mm-hmm.
You know who need, and you gotta tell them. And so I mean, so many words have been spoken over me and to me that sooner or later you believe it.
Mm-hmm.
Trust me,
Yeah.
believe it, man. And so uh uh once we got on the road, things were really, really, really good.
Okay.
My favorite group to open up for was New Edition.
Yeah.
That those were my guys, man. Those were my guys. I mean, that was when you know, Candy Girl and Mr.
Right.
Telephone Man and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And they made me feel good. First of all, I was big fan of theirs, and they was all backstage watching me, and it was like, Duke, you tore the house up. And I'm like, it all these things I remember. I remember those guys, they was that, and they still are.
Yeah, they
And
still are.
they still are. And the last one time I saw one of them, I think it was I saw Bobby Brown. It was probably in 88 or 89 when I had moved back to Arkansas. And I actually went to his concert. He came there and I went to security and told him Rappin Duke's out back. I'm saying, see if that name works anymore. and,
Right.
so, and so they threw me a bone and brought me back. I mean, you know, I got a chance to hang out with Bobby again for a bit. But the uh the good lasts a while. I don't know how much time you got, but the
We
good
got
part,
time. Well,
yeah,
I want to give people a little bit of context. So this is
okay.
1984, 80, roughly 84, 85. Because I wanted to get the context of the time, right? So
Mhm.
Rappin' Rodney, for those that remember that, that was 1983. Rap Master Ronnie, which was Ronald Reagan, was also 84. The Super Bowl Shuffle, I believe, was 84, 85. I think
Right in there.
might have been 84, 85. So this was kind of a thing. Did you get inspiration from any of these places, or did you just was it only the comedy that made you go that route? Like, or
You,
what,
you're
or was
making
it the deal?
you're making me think. You're really making me
Yeah.
think because I really liked I think the Rapping Rodney thing.
Rodney
And
Dangerfield, by the way, folks, for those that don't know,
yeah,
legendary comedian. Yeah.
gets no respect. No respect
Right.
for those who know it. I I'm gonna have to say either consciously or subconsciously that
Yeah.
let me know it was okay to do impersonation and rap. And
Right.
since that was the voice I did, it's
Hmm.
very but that I connected those dots.
Yeah.
Very possible because when I heard it, you know, because I mean the only thing in that genre was Weird Al Yankovic and it was those type of and Rick Dees and
Yeah.
Disco Duck and I mean it was all kind of stuff out there for novelty records.
Yeah.
And so I mean it was good while it lasted. And the reason why I say it while it lasted because a novelty record has a shelf life.
Yeah.
That stardom has a short window of time.
Hmm.
And where it got hard, where the hard part was, I didn't know I
Mm.
was a hit wonder.
Right. Right.
You find out that you're a one hit wonder.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
was under the impression that I had arrived, I was here. You know,
Hmm.
I got meeting all these celebrities and entertainers, going to the Black Radio exclusive, and I can't even remember the names of some of them things. Yeah, but all of those different events for music, and I would say because the reason why the record had so much life is because it didn't take the traditional route
Right.
for charting.
Yeah.
It was a small record label, and they really didn't have a understanding of the industry as the big labels did.
Right.
All
Right.
they knew was that we need to get more records pressed, and we need to get them to the distributors. That's
Right.
what they knew.
Yeah.
And um, if I'm not mistaken, they turned down pressing a distribution deal from Motown and a couple of others, and so it was hard keeping up with the record.
Yeah.
And then, but the radio people, the promoters, they got some pushback from DJs because the DJ listened to them like, man, what is this? This is what
Right.
what is this? And so they came up with the thing. Says, I tell you what, put it on your make it or break it,
Okay.
okay? Or just play it one time. If you don't get no response, we'll never talk to you again.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Every time they played it, phones lit up, and it
Yeah.
always made it to the top 10
Right.
every single time because it was so different, and I was not expecting that. And so with all that came with that, Chuck, with all that came with that, I had the presence of mind that this is it. I have arrived, right?
Mhm.
And then when it slowly left, because it always start off at light rotation, medium rotation, heavy rotation. Then we'll go back to medium. Then we'll go back to heavy again. So I'm like, oh, well, it's on, it's on, it's on. But then when it started backing down to medium, light, and then extra,
Yeah.
stop ringing.
Right.
I'm like, whoa, what is going on here?
Yeah.
Aren't I famous?
Right.
Shouldn't this phone be ringing? And then I realized that I wasn't going to get paid from the record company.
What made you realize that?
Well, I would say a year had gone by, and I kind of watched the way things were going, and I learned a lot about the record industry.
Mm-hmm.
And what had happened, apparently, the distributors of the day, um, back then, and I don't know what they're like now, but it was mafioso.
Yeah.
Uh, if you can't send me more records, I'm not going to send you any money.
Right.
And so they kept feeding the lion. They kept feeding it and feeding it, thinking they were going to get a check.
Right.
And they realized eventually that the distributors weren't going to pay them. Sometimes they did, sometimes they didn't. And then the money that they put out on pressing the record, not having press and distribution type of deal, not having a plant. We only had one plant, and it was in California. And so instead of having something in the Mid-South and stationed there, and then they can kind of move stuff around. I mean, I looked at it and it's like, I'm not going to get paid. If it was not for the club money and the show money,
Yeah.
I wouldn't have, man.
Right.
Because with the shows, I mean, I was all over the place. New York. That was the biggest. That was the biggest market for my New York, man. As much as I loved New York before I got there, when I was in the military, I hung out with all the guys from New York. We just, we had that swag, that
Mhm.
that mentality. We could just talk straight to each other. It was like, hey, let's do this, let's do that. Boom. But no questions asked. It was just. And so for me to go to New York for the first time in my life,
Mhm.
my 25th birthday,
Mm.
September 25th, 1985.
Wow.
I arrive in New York, get off the plane, first class,
First
get
class.
into the limousine,
Right. Right.
turn on the radio. What was it? Hot 97? Is that one of the stations?
I don't think Hot was around at that time, but
Uh, was it BLS?
PLS, yeah.
BLS, uh, not Red, was it Red Man? No, not Red Man.
Red
Uh,
Alert, DJ
Red
Red Alert,
Alert, DJ Red
Red
Alert,
Alert. Yeah.
DJ Red Alert, and Johnny. I can't remember these names, man. It's been so years. It's only 39 years. So,
Freddie
for
Croc,
me,
Freddie Crocker.
yes, Freddie Crocker.
Yeah,
Um,
I think that's right.
just some of those big guys in the game, and for me to get to New York and feel as though I was accepted because I would just turn in the radio station. Almost everywhere I turned, my song was playing, and it's my birthday, and I'm in New York. Oh
Right.
man, the Fun House,
Yeah.
Roxy, a couple of skating rinks. I can't even remember all the places, but New York. Here's what New York will do for you. One
What?
day, I think I did a show. I
Frank,
know it.
oh, by the way, Frankie Crocker. I don't know if I said
Frank,
that right.
okay,
I just
okay.
want to get his name right. Eric B will curse me out if I get that. Frankie Crocker. All
Okay.
right.
So I did a show in Illinois with New Edition, and went to McDonald's, got a fish sandwich. Apparently the fish, it was a bad sandwich. So I'm working in New York, right? This is my second time in New York. I'm
Okay.
working in New York, and food poisoning hit me hard, hit me bad. And I had a show to do that night, right?
Mm-hmm.
I got to do the show. I got to do this show.
Mm-hmm.
Found out the power of the stage and the energy of the audience.
Mm-hmm.
Song came on, and we had this special mix that allowed me, 45 seconds to a whole minute to come out, because the drums would start, and then you hear the na 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 na. Then the drums would start, and then I would slowly work my way out. And I worked my way out just sicker than a dog, man.
Wow.
By the time I hit center stage and those folks lost their minds, I didn't even know I was sick no more.
Right, right,
I
right,
had no idea.
right.
Now it was the moment, it was the energy. That was back in the day where I actually had 2 6 shooters. These are
Right.
guns that I rented in Hollywood, that they use in Hollywood, and I
Yeah.
had bullets in there. And when I pulled them bad boys out and shot them up, New York, the boys went crazy. The boys, they
Yeah.
were like, "Ooh, ooh, ooh."
Yeah, that's crazy.
It was like, oh man, the energy, the energy, the energy.
Now I gotta ask you. So in Rappin Duke, you say now Kurtis Blow, Run DMC. You haven't heard of rap until you heard it from me. I'm the baddest rapper in history. There'll never be no more after me.
Right.
Those are fighting words in hip hop. Those are
The
fighting
way
words.
Russell
By
took
the
it.
way, huh?
That's the way Russell took it.
Right. So that's where I'm going. But let me give people some context here. In 84, 85, Run DMC, Kurtis Blow, Houdini, the Fat Boys, Sugar Hill Gang all drop albums. 13 albums in 84 came out. Most, not all were relevant, but heavy hitters though. This is 84, so everybody wasn't making an album. 85, 17 albums came out. But at this point in time, Run DMC is literally at its peak on the streets.
Mhm.
Kurtis Blow was no slouch either, I might add. And by the way, all of them were affiliated with Russell Simmons, who was in the streets at that point, outside peak Russell at that point. So first of all, you got to tell me what happened with you and Russell. By the way, I've known Russell over 20 years, probably around 20 to 20, 23, 25 years, long, long time.
Mhm. Mhm.
I didn't get to witness that Russell because from what I understand, that was a very different Russell Simmons.
Okay. Now, in terms of marketing and understanding what it takes to get attention,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
of course, it was playful banter. But was it taken that way? Psh, no, of course not. But what did it do?
Right.
It got people's attention. It's
Yeah.
like, who does this guy think he is?
Right.
Well, I'm going to take on the likeness and the persona of John Wayne. And
Right.
for those of you who don't know, he was the cowboy of the day. He
Uh-huh.
was the cowboy. He created a persona that made him bigger than life.
Uh-huh.
And
Uh-huh.
so if he's going to get in the rap game, he's going to do just that. He's
Uh-huh.
going to take over. Did I think I was going to take over? No. Did I think I was better than Kurtis Blow and Run? No. I
Right.
thought I was having a good time, and I did. And
Yeah.
I don't remember where and when I met Russell, but when I did meet him, his words were, and it was probably at a conference. That's probably where it was.
Okay.
It was something along the lines of, where you get off on talking about Kurtis Blow Run DMC, you ain't never heard of rap till you heard of him. I'm like, Russell, these are jokes, bro.
Right.
They're jokes, man. Well, I do not remember a handshake or embrace or anything that said it was okay. I just remembered you wrong for that. I'm
Right.
like, whatever, man.
Right.
Whatever.
Lighten up, bro.
Yeah, lighten up, man. These are jokes. I'm a comedian. Remember, I'm a comedian. Cole. So yeah, that was it with Russ.
Now, you also take shots at Ronald Reagan, which is funny. I, you say, can folks say, Ron, move away from there? Said in the White House is where you'll be. So he loaded up to Lincoln and moved to DC. You kind of,
Washington, that is.
huh? Yeah, Washington at it. Now, I have to admit, when I was young, I didn't fully understand these lyrics at the time, but they were rivals in a lot of ways in Hollywood, right? Correct?
And I didn't draw that parallel.
Okay.
Where I did that, that's interesting you should say that. The only reason why I did that was because that was me taking on Beverly Hillbillies.
Yeah.
Well, the first thing you know, Jed's a millionaire. Folks said Jed, and so Ron was president at the time, and so it just fit, it just flowed, it went there. Yeah, but I didn't draw that parallel between the Duke and Ron.
Did people think you were a white guy? Did they know you were black? It never really crossed my mind. I never thought one or the other. I mean, I guess I might have assumed you were black, but I just didn't. I didn't give it a lot of thought. But it kind of came across some of the research that some folks might have thought you were dissing hip hop and a white guy basically dissing hip hop.
Man, you've been doing this a minute, since 98, and you are good. You are asking some questions that replies are necessary and needed. And that was a good question because it was part of the genius of H.B. Barnum, the same guy who said, take out Shaka Khan and put Aretha Franklin in there. I'm wanting to be famous. I'm like, I wanted my picture on the album. I want people to recognize me. I'm a star, and he says, no. He says, what we need to do is just put a picture of the hat.
Yeah.
Put a picture of the hat on there because we want people who believe you are white to believe you are white.
Right.
There is no white rapper.
Right.
Says they can find out when they come to the concert.
Right.
When we shoot this video, it's gonna be silhouettes. You're gonna have gloves on, and then I start thinking, I'm like, man, he was right about the Aretha Franklin. I mean, this guy's on to something here.
Right.
And for me, Chuck, when we got to any venue, I didn't have to costume. I didn't have to check. I mean, I could go in there with a sweatsuit. I could walk through the audience. Nobody know me. Nobody know nothing. The song would come on. And since he already created this mystique, I'm like, well, I'm going to take my track and I'm going to have 2 minutes of an instrumental before I even come out.
Right.
And just have little break beats in there, little things like that. And then when I finally come out, people would lose their minds because black people who wanted me to be black, they got their justice, and the white folks, they didn't care.
Right. Yeah.
They didn't care. And I'm really trying to remember. You probably might be more versed on this. I don't recollect seeing diversity in the audiences. It may have been there. I wasn't focused on that because we all know that without the white purchasing power, hip hop wouldn't be where it is.
Yeah.
I mean, that is, but I don't remember in 84 or 85 and 86. I don't remember. Was it a mixed audience? I don't remember.
Yeah. Right.
Did we have a diversity?
Maybe, here and there, little, mostly black, I believe, because hip hop was still in its infancy. One, number two, for me at least, limited access to shows I wasn't in New York City at that time. And thirdly, there was an element, at least in the feelings of something could happen while you're out there at these shows. So I
Right.
I don't think so. But then again, there were progressive white folks that did show up, that did break dance and
Mhm.
participate and
Right, right,
go out.
right,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
right,
So
right. Yeah, but
definitely.
that was the whole reasoning, behind the album cover with the hat, and, yeah, good question, bro.
So so you never got any money from that?
Not from the record company.
Not from the actual sales. No
Right.
money.
I don't think they got their money.
They didn't either. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think they got their money.
Now it's still
If
on
they
streaming
did,
services now. Do you own publishing? Do you have any of those things? Do
I
they
have the writer's share of the publishing on
Okay,
that, and, they sold it to Warner Brothers.
okay,
They sold the
okay.
publishing rights to Warner Brothers, so, I still get some gas money.
Right.
I
Gotcha.
get some gas money every year, take a
Yeah.
nice long trip, and, yeah, but, yeah, that the only money I ever got was from the shows, and then, and that was good money back in the day. I
Uh,
mean, I could do a 20-minute set and walk away with $3,500, and that was 39 years ago.
that was good
Matter
money
of
then.
fact, that's good money today
Yeah, it sure
for
is.
39 minutes of worth of work.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely, definitely. Did
yeah.
did the Sugar Hill Records ever sue you or try to sue for using maybe a little part of Rapper's Delight? I know because I
Oh,
say
no, no, no,
okay.
I I thought about that. I'm like, what is he talking about?" That's right, because toward the end, I said, "Hip hop, hip did it."
Yeah, Scooby the Wee Bop,
Give
Scooby
it a
Doo.
bit, yeah, exactly, exactly. No, and I actually never met anybody,
Okay.
from Sugar Hill, and, m maybe they took the mature route and says,
They never
flattery,
saw it.
imitation is flattery. I
Mhm.
met Kurtis Blow. We was cool.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
was cool. I never got a chance to perform a Run DMC. Never got to that level because they were at a whole nother level. Walk This Way and all
Yeah.
of that stuff. I
Mhm.
mean, they were at a whole nother level.
Yeah.
But no, I think they took it the same way I took it when Biggie gave me a shout out.
Okay, well, hold up before you go into Biggie. I want to explain why I say that because I actually have interviewed and met the Sugar Hill Gang,
Mm.
and the record label, which is obviously different from the actual group, is known to get their money whenever anybody uses a piece of their song. So I just but that was so long ago. It
Yeah.
probably wasn't even on their mind at the time. So I'll
And
leave
if
that.
they did, they may have addressed the record label, but I never heard anything. The
Gotcha.
only pushback, blowback I got back was from Russ. That was
Gotcha.
that was it. And
Yeah.
that was light.
Yeah.
That was
It
light.
wasn't that serious. It wasn't that
Yeah,
serious.
it wasn't that serious. But I
Right.
knew he didn't like it.
Right. Right. Right.
Yeah.
So let's fast forward really about 10 years later. Um Biggie Smalls, roughly 10 years, releases a song called Juicy.
Mhm.
And it's a hit record, it's a pop record, it's a R&B-ish record that takes a young hardcore rapper into a new sphere of success. And you have retired the Rappin Duke. Offline, you said you tried to bury it, and then this rapper mentions it saying, remember Rappin Duke, the ha, you never thought hip hop would take it this far. Where were you? Where were you when you first heard this?
Okay, so this what year was this again?
Juicy, I think it
90,
was 94.
94, 95.
Yeah.
Um, actually, I was in prison.
Uh-oh.
I worked there, bro.
Oh, okay. All right. I was about to say 94. Yeah, 1990.
Yeah,
90,
actually, after everything, the one hit wonder and all that stuff, blah blah blah. Uh, I worked at a prison from 91 to 97. And
okay.
so when that song came out, I started getting phone calls. Pager was blowing up. Remember Pager? Pager was blowing
Yeah.
up. Hey man, Earl, oh cuz, and I'm hearing all of these, I'm getting all of this stuff. And I'm like, okay, I want to hear it. I want to hear it. I want to hear it. And then finally I heard it. And I'm like, I thought I had Rappin Duke way out of my system.
Right.
I thought I had buried that and concreted it over. I had moved on.
Yeah.
And when Biggie did that, it just fired up something back in me, man, to
Mm.
to do the impossible. And the impossible is to come back from one hit wonder. But
Right.
you don't know it. First of all, you don't know you're one hit wonder till you find out. And then once you are one hit wonder, you don't know that you ain't supposed to try to come back.
Right.
Because there's no book on it. You couldn't Google it. There's nobody, there's no AI, there's nothing. There's just these wild, wild thoughts, wild thoughts. I could do this, I could do this. And so I went on trying to put together some tracks and all of that stuff, blah, blah, blah. Went absolutely nowhere. Went absolutely nowhere.
Right.
I say
Right.
it went nowhere. It went absolutely nowhere.
Nowhere at all.
No, nowhere at all. But it really, really made me feel good about the success of the record and the fact that it had touched someone like
Mhm.
Notorious B.I.G.
Yeah.
The fact
Definitely.
that it meant that much to him, it
Mhm.
just kept me going. It was like him speaking words into me,
Yeah.
saying there's greatness inside of you and don't you ever forget it.
Yeah.
I can always go back to that. It's words, whether it comes across in a song, whether you're talking to somebody, you're encouraging them. It's words. I've been surrounded with words that has my life is built around words, positive words that have been spoken over me. The negative stuff bounces off. Get enough positive. Negative stuff was like, you don't even know me. That's why you ain't in my circle.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you like Biggie as an artist? What did you think about him?
I thought he was smooth as butter. I thought he was cold as ice. I thought his flow, the music, everything they did was big.
Yeah.
Everything they did was big.
Yeah.
And I've got nothing but praise
Yeah.
for the artistry that he has left with us.
Yeah.
Nothing but praise.
Yeah.
Nothing.
And it's really dope that he was able to immortalize you in that way for that generation and really future generations, because on YouTube and on streaming services, I've just looked and there's so many YouTube videos analyzing the record. One of them is, oh, I'm listening to it for the first time. It's a father-daughter duo listening to the Rappin Duke for the first time, and the comment sections are always fun to watch too. And it really lets you know the profound impact that it had on a generation, and then also subsequent generations after. You know,
Right.
I'll never forget when I first heard it, and it's interesting that you let us know that the rollout was very odd, because I used to float between Virginia and Delaware, which is where I'm originally from. And when
Uh,
I would go to Virginia, I would hear a completely different type of hip hop. So Sir Mix-a-Lot used to have a song called Square Dance Rap. It's a very it's a novelty record.
right.
And
Right. Right.
it's really actually pretty weird. But I remember hearing songs like that, and I'm almost positive I heard the Rappin' Duke in
You
Virginia.
did. You
Yeah.
did because we did skating rink tour
Okay.
and Virginia. We came through Virginia. That was part of it. West Party
Yeah.
Johnson. I don't know if you ever met West Party. He was out of I think he was out of Baltimore.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
he took me through Virginia. Sure did.
Yeah. Yeah. So so the one hit. Wonder it's like a double-edged sword. I looked and saw it. Did you attempt to come back in the mid, like little leaning into the almost the 90s? I think it was a song called Rappin Duke is Back or something like that. Um,
Actually, that was with Tommy Boy.
okay.
Um and at the time, their biggest artist was Club Nouveau.
Yeah.
And Club Nouveau was really banging, and Tommy Boy had to stick with what was on the wall that stuck. And the Duke is Back was a regional type of hit. And
Okay.
so I was able to get a little bit of more life out of being on the road and all of that stuff.
Right.
But yeah, that Duke is Back was uh um nowhere near the original. No,
Yeah.
no, no, nowhere near it. Nowhere near it.
Now, do you remember, and this was a few years ago, Chris Rock names his top five rappers. He names his top five, and the last one he mentioned is the Rappin Duke. What did you like? What were you thinking when you saw that or when you heard that? What was on
Messed
your
up
mind?
again. Messed up again. It messed me up. Phone
Yeah,
started ringing,
yeah,
emails started coming.
yeah,
And I'm like, they're asking, did you see it? Did you see it? Did you see it? It was Chris Rock and Jimmy Fallon, and blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. I even recorded it. Once I found it, I recorded it so I could just have it. It's like, wow, wow. That I ended up sending Jimmy Fallon a 12-inch single signed. Because I think it was Jimmy who named his top five, and he said Rapping Duke.
Oh,
And
okay.
and Chris Rock, it made him laugh. He's like, Rapping Duke, that type of
Right,
thing.
right.
And so I sent it to Jimmy Fallon, and of course heard nothing back. Um, and knowing the industry the way I know it, he probably never saw it.
Right. Probably never saw it.
Probably never saw it, you
Yeah,
know, and it was just one of those things. When I saw that, it really, really, it's back to those words again.
yeah,
It was being spoken over me again. There's greatness inside of you, and whatever you're doing, remember what you've done in the past, and know there's nothing can stop you from climbing, 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 climbing. And so, yeah, that was one of those moments. It was a Biggie moment, and
yeah.
it was a Jimmy Fallon and Chris Rock moment. Those that they were huge. They were huge.
Yeah, we gotta we I don't know. It's probably next to impossible, but somehow there's got to be a way. We're gonna have to slice this up right to get it on social media so that maybe just maybe I can fast forward it to Black Thought from the Roots or somebody, and maybe he can get it to Fallon or something like that. Just
Yeah,
because it's only right to do, if you know what I'm
yeah,
saying.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, he said it. He must have meant it. I
Yeah,
mean,
heck yeah, he meant
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah,
There's
yeah.
no way. Listen, man, when people make those name drops, those moments, those where they mention records like the Rapping Duke, that's not happenstance. That's literally like paying homage. It's not a he could have said anything. He could have said Rodney Dangerfield. I mean, he could have said any number of people at
Right,
that point. Because that's
right.
even, of course, maybe he heard Biggie. I don't know, but it's never an accident. You know what I mean? It's never
Yeah,
by yeah.
that was that
So
was
so I wanted to ask you, just in general, since you did this record, what your thoughts on hip hop are and were at that time. Obviously this is a work of comedy that we took pretty seriously, I might add. I mean, it was funny, but at the same time, it wasn't a joke. You know what I'm saying? Like it was a joke that wasn't a joke because we consumed every piece of hip hop that we heard at that time. So while it was meant to be funny, it was still like a legitimate, you know,
right.
piece of art that if you did do a record, it makes me wonder, like, what did you think of hip hop then? And, also, what do you think of it now?
Well, when I was in it, it was so new,
Mhm.
and I was actually probably 5, 6 years older than the average cat, who was in the game. So my level of maturity was a little different.
Mhm.
Um, uh, there was a lot of negativity surrounding the art from communities of people who didn't understand that it's an art and that it's a culture, and to this day they still don't get it.
Mhm. Right.
um where hip hop is now, for me, as a former artist, there are things I like and there are things that I don't like.
Mhm.
I don't like it when a label uses a culture to um, control minds
Mhm.
of uh, highly in, highly influential people. I don't like it when they control narratives
Mhm.
that perpetuate something that we really don't want to be perpetuated.
Mhm.
Um, the things that are said and rap and lyrics have always been controversial, but those who are not in the culture don't understand that these are the lives that these people are living. These are the things that they are seeing. These are the things that they are experiencing.
Mhm.
And when someone comes along who doesn't live that life but raps about the life, I mean, hip hop jumps on us like, hey, you're from the suburbs, man. What are you talking about? It's just one of those things where the community used to police itself. I'm not sure because I'm so far removed from
Yeah.
it, but there needs to be a policing, or at least some older heads that are talking to the up and coming rappers,
Mhm.
letting them know the choices that they're making and the things they're doing to achieve their success is something that they can't undo.
Yeah.
So the question is, how bad do you want it and what are you willing to give to get it?
Yeah.
If you can't express the art, what you want to say,
Yeah. Right.
and you are saying only what those in control are telling you to say, then you become a puppet to the game. Sure, you're going to be famous. Sure, you're going to be great. Sure, you're going to be an awesome person. But if you got something that you got on your mind and you want to put out, yeah, they'll let you put it on as a side, a B side, or whatever. But it'll never see the light of day.
Yeah.
There are narratives that are out there, and I mean, it's bigger than anyone will ever know. I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out. You can go to YouTube and look at the influence of music and the industry and the controllers and the things. And I mean, hey, it is what it is. It is what it is. But
Mhm.
to the artists, I say to artists, keep on doing what you're doing,
Mhm.
but listen to your narrative. Is that something you want your kids and your kids' kids to hear?
Yeah.
What is your narrative? Do you want to take on that persona? You want to take that to the grave with you?
Yeah.
Is that what you want? Just think about what you say and what you're willing to give to have a voice to say.
Yeah.
But the music itself, I will listen to beats. I mean, I just got to stay relevant.
Mhm.
But the lyrics, sometimes they get past me. Sometimes I'm listening. Sometimes I'm not. I mean, I'm not of age where rap music is important to me, but the beats are. The
Yeah.
beats are important. I like beat. I'm a musician. I like music. I
Yeah.
like music. I can't name who the top rappers are right now.
Right.
I don't know. I
Right.
mean, of course, on radio, you Drake and Lil Durk and baby this, baby that, baby Big Mac, whatever. I don't know. I mean, there's all kind of stuff going on out there.
Yeah.
But the artist, to the true artist, I say, man, keep doing what you're doing, man, and don't let AI do your music.
Oh my God. It's crazy right now in hip hop.
But
I
if you do get an AI hit, I ain't mad at you, but
right.
I'm just saying, man, come on, where the skills at?
Right. No, that's a fact. So, okay, so I'm gonna ask you who your top 5 dead or alive are, Mr. Brown. Who, yeah, I gotta get it from you, brother.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. That may be a little challenging, but I mean, right off the bat, I've got to go back to my era
Hey,
because those were the ones who influenced me,
that's fine.
and it would have to be Curtis Blow.
Okay. Tell me why Mr. Blow makes the top 5.
First of all, because I met him and I performed with him,
Mhm.
and we had a bond. I mean, Curtis Blow, he was just or is he's just a cool guy.
Yeah,
He's
yes.
just a cool guy, down to earth, cool guy. And the song, I mean, I don't know how many times I played these out of breaks over and over and over and over and over again. But I would say him, it would Houdini all day long. Houdini all day long. Um, uh, it would have to be, I'm gonna have to throw in a non-rap group.
Okay.
They do rap a little bit in their song.
Okay.
And I used to tour with them, New Edition.
Okay, of course. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. And they can
Uh,
rap better than most, by the way. Shoot.
tell me about it.
Yeah.
Tell me about it. And so so that's three. We gotta throw in Biggie,
Okay.
gotta throw in Biggie. And this is not necessarily in order of their greatness. These are just the top five, but Tupac
Tupac. Yeah. Okay.
all day
Okay.
long, all day
Okay.
long. Yeah, yeah.
Um, wanted to ask you about 2 special moments that get me a little jealous. You met Muhammad Ali and Stevie Wonder. You opened for at one point. Can you tell
Mm,
me about those experiences? The champ, by the way, just gives me the shivers. I'm a huge boxing fan, um,
mm.
and just to yeah, I just can't imagine, to be honest with you.
I couldn't imagine.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine. This was 1986. uh the record was still, making its rounds, and I was still touring, and my publicist got me in uh to be a part of the Black History Parade in San Bernardino, California.
Okay.
And she asked me, she says, Sean, do you mind sharing the limousine? I mean, I'm like, nah, I don't care, but who is it? Because sometimes it could be, a knucklehead. It'd be like, no, I don't want to be in there with them. No, no, no. And she says, you'd be sharing a limousine with Muhammad Ali.
Oh man.
I'm like,
Yeah.
speechless. She said, Sean, you still there? I'm like, yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm here. I'm here. You telling me a limousine gonna pick me up tomorrow, and Muhammad Ali's gonna be in that limousine, and I'm gonna be in there for 45 minutes driving to San Bernardino. Is that what you telling me?
Yeah.
She says, yes.
Wow.
So the night before, I'm thinking, okay, Muhammad Ali, Muhammad Ali. I mean, the word in the streets was, the Parkinson's and not necessarily having mental clarity. I mean, there's just all kind of stuff. Puncher, all those little negative things were out there, right? And so these are what's going to my mind. I'm like, so what am I gonna say? What am I gonna do? This is like, well, maybe I didn't want to do this because now I'm all messed up. So that morning, I get up after no sleep. I get dressed. I go down. I'm there 15 minutes before the limo even show up because I'm just pacing, I'm going back and forth. I'm just pacing, pacing, and pacing. I'm like, okay, you about to meet the champ, about to meet the champ. Oh my God. So the limo pulls up, guy gets out, opens the door. I'm here on the left side, the seat, bench seat facing the driver. Muhammad Ali is on the other side on the passenger door.
Mm,
His assistant, his name was Mahdi. Mahdi was facing me. The champ was asleep. He
okay.
was knocked out. He was knocked out. And I was kind of relieved that he was knocked out because I'm like, okay, maybe, but I just don't know what to expect, right? And so me and Mahdi, we chopping it up, we chopping it up. We're talking back and forth, and I keep looking, wow, that's Muhammad Ali over there. Yeah. Okay, we're talking, I don't even remember what the talk was about because I'm sitting next to Muhammad Ali. It was a wonk, 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 wonk. I'm like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And then he starts fidgeting a little bit, right?
Mhm.
He's leaning on the door. and he starts fidgeting. And, and I look at Mahdi and I'm like, okay, you his guy. And so I'm going to watch you. And so I watched Mahdi. Mahdi didn't have no problem. So you ain't got no problem? I ain't got no problem. So he started fidgeting. And then he balled up his fist. Biggest fist I ever saw, man.
Mm-hmm.
He balled it up. I mean, and it's like he did it in slow motion. He balled up his fist and he kind of brought it back. And I'm looking at Mahdi, and Mahdi is looking concerned, right? I'm like, well, maybe I should be concerned because Mahdi's his composure changed, right? And so we still chop it up. Now I'm watching him, right? And he balled his fist and he starts hitting on the door. Okay. He just start doing that, right? And then he starts hitting it harder. And I'm looking at Mahdi, and Mahdi is like get ready to wake him up, and he does like this. I mean, he nails that. He just bam, and then he opens his eyes, looks up at me, and says, "Cha."
He was a prankster. That
Oh,
is so funny.
we must have laughed for 5 minutes.
Right.
We must have laughed for 5 minutes,
That's
and
crazy.
then from then on, what he was going through with his disease, he was able to master the ability of putting together short phrases
Uh-huh.
that meant something. He
Uh-huh.
wouldn't mumble or stumble or stutter. He would think about what he would say. And then if we say it, it would be a work of art. It would be a piece. I mean, I can't remember what he said, though. Don't ask me, Chuck.
Right.
But he was able to do that. And then at the actual parade, he had put together a short speech because he was the what do you call it, the grand marshal of the parade, and then all of us were in cars, behind him, stuff like that. But yeah, when he did that trick, well, the reason why I say trick is because after that he started pulling out these red balls and making stuff doing. He was just doing magic. He
Right.
was doing magic, and I'm like, man,
Wow.
this is good. This is good stuff. And every now and then he would say something. And I'm like, wow, that I'll never ever forget that.
Right.
Especially, here's the deepest part of it. He knew what I was going through the night before,
Uh-huh.
knowing that I was going to ride with him.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
He knew.
Right.
He knew. He says, "Oh, I got something for him." And I mean, and it was perfect. It was a relief to see that happen because then it just put everything back to normal. Everything was normal. I forgot all about the slurred speech. I forgot about everything. It was just like he's a real person, and I'm riding with the champ.
Yeah.
Riding
Wow.
with the champ.
Wow. How about Stevie?
Stevie Wonder. I was at, man, I wish I could find that picture. I was at, I believe it was the Black Radio exclusive,
Okay.
and uh the record was big on Stevie's radio station, KJLH.
Okay.
And so I go to I guess it was Warner Brothers suite. I go to the suite, and when I get in there, Stevie Wonder was right there at the front door. And I think it was West Party Johnson introduced me, says Stevie Wonder, um, meet Shawn Brown, Rappin Duke, meet Stevie Wonder. And you know what the first thing that came out of Stevie's mouth was?
Well,
Da ha da ha. I'm like, he knows my song. Oh my
right.
goodness.
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
That's
It's
crazy.
it's back to, he spoke my own words over me.
Right.
He spoke my own words over me. When he did that, I mean, I was just like, oh my God,
Yeah.
this seals the deal. And I talked him in to putting on my hat and taking a picture with me.
Wow. You got to find that, man.
Oh, it's in the office. It's just stuff. It's just memorabilia. I got with me and him, me and Bobby Brown, and a couple other photos somewhere. I wish I had gotten photos with. Oh, I got some with Fat Boys. I just
Yeah.
thought about that. Yeah, I got photos with the Fat Boys, and I got to go back through that stuff, man.
Yeah, man, you gotta start putting that stuff out there, man. You know what I'm saying? Get it digitized and put out there on these social media, man. So like let people see it.
Well,
You know?
here's the deal, and I'm gonna blame it on you, Chuck.
Okay.
I never had a reason
Mm,
to bring it out. My brother-in-law told me, say, "Hey, man, you need to use that. You need to use that." And I'm like, when you the artist and you've already accepted that you're a one-hit wonder and you're on another path, it's like you don't want to use yourself to push yourself. You
mm,
know, and that's some artistry weird comment, okay? You don't want to use yourself to push yourself. When I
yeah.
was doing comedy back in Chicago, I never mentioned the Rappin Duke. This was after the Rappin Duke. The Rappin Duke never came up. I never spoke it. I'm like, my comedy got to stand on its own.
Yeah.
And you know, it was what it was. But because you sought me out
Yeah.
and what you've done in this industry, it gives me a reason to rethink my position on using that past success.
Mhm.
Now, you would be the launching pad
Okay.
for me to do something. So I'm gonna get with my team and we're gonna talk about this and how does this translate to early childhood space where I'm working at now.
Right.
Uh
Yeah. Yeah.
and there is synergy because the
Mhm.
grandkids and the children of those who knew the Rap and Duke,
Yeah.
they would be influenced by what I do for early childhood. So I mean, it makes more sense now than ever. It
Yeah.
took 39 years for you to call me.
Right. I'm a little late, but it's okay.
But
So yeah,
the timing is right. And I look at it, I'm like, I think the time is now.
yeah,
I
no,
think
I
the time.
agree, man. You have a radio voice, by the way. So you know the voice itself is really distinct. So
Well,
I feel like it's time too. Now you got to tell us what you're up to now. I know you had the super fun show at one point, millions of views in the child space.
Mhm.
Really fun stuff. What are you doing now? Tell people.
Currently, I have a company called Role Model Professional Development.
Mhm,
We started off as a super fun show.
mhm,
Um, One of the God-given gifts that it was bestowed upon me was the ability to
mhm,
entertain children, young ages, to be able to hold their attention for long periods of time.
okay,
And when I started that business, I was just doing what they call enrichment programs in childcare centers. I go in there with the super fun show. I do music, puppetry, and storytelling, then go to the next classroom, and then off to another childcare center. And it sounds small, but it was a lot of money.
yeah.
It was a lot of money because the parents were paying for these programs, and I had it up and running about 10, 11 centers. And one of the owners of one of the centers, she said, "Sean, have you ever thought about doing professional development?" I'm
Mhm,
like, "What is that?" She
mhm,
says, "Well, someone with your knowledge and what you do with music, you can actually teach teachers how to do what you do with your stuff."
right.
I'm like, "Hmm." And so I looked into that and I started going to the conferences, and I'm like, "Wait a minute. This is like the record industry. You
Mhm,
go to the conferences to get noticed. You go to the conferences to get seen and so on and so forth. Do stuff for free for a while." And I
right.
went through that whole thing that I went through with the Rappin' Duke. It was like a promotional tour that I paid for, right? And then it got to the point where I started charging to be a speaker at this conference, to be a speaker at that conference. And then the keynote speaking engagement started coming. Then I became a keynote speaker. And
Mhm,
so now I have this library of, I probably got about 12, 13 children's CDs. I've got content for early childhood, anything from behavior management. And my wife is a licensed marriage family therapist, and she does a wellness track, a social emotional. I mean, we are actually doing very well in this space, and uh, um, if I could, Chuck, I would want to encourage other artists who have a big name in this industry. Think about the kids.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about what you're talking about. When
Mhm.
I say think about the kids, take time, do a CD for the kids.
Mhm. Yeah.
Just do one for the kids.
Mhm.
Do one for the kids. They already love you. Let them love another message and let them see there's another side of you. Then that way they can pick and choose because words got meaning, words got life, words got power. Death and life is in the power of the tongue. And your adult stuff has made you famous. Your adult stuff has made you big, and you deserve every bit of it. And these children deserve an opportunity to see that other side of it because some of y'all got kids.
Yeah.
Some of
Yeah.
y'all got kids.
Mm.
You got grandkids. Do something for them. Just every now and then.
Yeah.
Throw
Yeah.
one out there for the babies, man.
They used to back in the day.
Yeah, yeah,
Now and then they would do something for the kids. Not so much now, but
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's kind of hard because that goes back to that other conversation. Um, what are your controllers
yeah, right.
allowing you to put out? But if you independent and you made it big, oh come on, do it. Drop
Yeah,
something.
yeah,
Send it to me.
yeah. You can remix it.
Yes.
Remember Kids Bop and all those type of albums
Yeah.
they used to do? You can still do that. I
Mm.
think you can, especially for the really young kids. Definitely.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
lot of money there too. I mean, not to say that you should do it for the money, but it is money there.
Oh, dude, every year, every president that has come into office always put more money for
Mm,
early childhood. Every president, Republican, Democrat, they always put more money in that pot. And
yeah.
it's a big,
Mm,
it is big,
That's a
big.
fact. That's a fact. All
Yeah.
right, Mr. Shawn Brown, do you have any final words for the people out there, man? This has been a great interview, great conversation.
Oh man, I've immensely enjoyed this, and I would just say that be an encourager of others. Everything that I've done up to this point in my life, I can always go back and trace somebody that told me I was funny, or somebody told me I was good at this, or someone encouraged me. They saw my talent. They saw always be an encourager. You never know
Yeah,
who you are encouraging, and
yeah,
you never know that person might, might
mm,
just about be ready to give up.
yeah,
And then they put that life back into you. You put the life back into them just by speaking on their talent or speaking on their gift, because in their circle, there might not be anyone to tell. If no one tells you how good you are, or
mm,
how great you are, or how great you can be, it takes a lot to build yourself up.
yeah,
But man, we need each other. We
yeah.
need each other. So I would say to everybody, no matter what you do, speak life to somebody else.
Yes. Thank you very much.